New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello, my beautiful friends out there. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me today. And I am Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. And quickly, my credentials are, I am a grief coach, a certified grief educator, also a registered nurse, religious science practitioner, and a licensed facilitator for Soul Collage. So that's who I am. Plus, I'm human, right here with you, sharing the same life experiences, the same challenges, loving it, the expression, we're all in this together. Just because I talk about grief every week and have made grief my specialty, it doesn't mean I get a pass at all. I don't get a pass. I have the same losses that then thrust me into grief. I always say that, or just an explanation that loss is what we experience and grief is what we feel. And it's those losses that just catapults us into the waiting arms of grief. And loss, oh, we know that loss, the biggest loss is death. But there's so many other losses. Loss of health, loss of friendships. I had a big geographical move in 2020 and 2021 that, leaving behind all that's familiar, all that I had known that brought me joy and, just made me feel so connected in the world. That was a loss when I moved from the US to Ireland. And even though I planned it over a short period of time, it still was a loss. What about loss of health? What about a surgery that leaves you without, oh goodness, I'll just say a surgery that's a mutilative surgery that just leaves your body somewhat disfigured? That's a loss. How about the biggest? Oh my gosh, one of the bigger losses that we all experience if we live as long as we want to, which means we're going to be very, very old. But aging is a loss of your youth and maybe some vitality, some mobility. So many losses that can just put us into those waiting arms of grief. And grief is what we feel. The regret, the sadness, the disappointment. Oh, sometimes we get enraged and we're angry, or we're just numb. We don't feel anything, confused. All of those are the responses to that loss. All of those, quote unquote, is grief. So knowing that our grief is caused by loss, maybe that can help us lean into those feelings that come up. Oh, to feel it is to be able to heal it. If you can't feel it, then you can't heal it. And knowing that when these emotions come up, if we can just lean into those emotions, the more we can lean in and really feel those emotions, then it slowly passes through us. I want to read this reading by Mark Matusek. And I've read it before, but every time I read it, it always has, and I have new insight. It allows me to really glean a new insight into grief. And so this was taken from an article from Tricycle Magazine. And the title of that article is A Splinter of Love. And as I said, it's by Mark Matusek. He says, here's what I want you to do. Not just listen to it, but I want you to try to feel into it, because words have energy. Words have energy. And I think sometimes we forget that. So why don't you just sit up a little straighter, just give your body a little shake, swallow. And if it feels good, close your eyes and just listen to the words of this writing. He says, grief may be the greatest healing experience of a lifetime. It's certainly one of the hottest fires we will encounter. It penetrates the hard layers of our self-protection, plunges us into the sadness, fear, and despair we have tried so hard to avoid. Grief is unpredictable, uncontrollable. There are no shortcuts around grief. The only way is right through the middle. Some say time heals, but that's only a half truth. Time alone doesn't heal. Time and attention heal. In grief, we access parts of ourselves that were somehow unavailable to us in the past. With awareness, the journey through grief becomes a path of wholeness. Let me say that again. With awareness, the journey through grief becomes a path to wholeness. Grief can lead us to a profound understanding that reaches beyond our individual loss. It opens us to the most essential truth of our lives, the truth of impermanence, the cause of suffering, and the illusion of separateness. When we meet these experiences with mercy and awareness, we begin to appreciate that we are more than the grief. We are what the grief is moving through. In the end, we may still fear death, but we don't fear living nearly as much. In surrendering to our grief, we have learned to give ourselves more fully to life. Just breathe those words in. Just breathe those words in. And think about what part of that writing spoke to you. The part that really speaks to me is that about the truth of impermanence, the cause of suffering, and the illusion of separateness. And I feel that we need to just have mercy with ourselves, some tenderness with ourselves as we're grieving. There was a book I was reading by Tara Brach who says it's not the survival of the fittest, but it's the survival of the nurtured. So nurture yourself during these times. Nurture yourself during times of grief. Oh, thank you, thank you. I do want to say this. This is most important about grief. Grief does have a superpower, and its superpower is to heal. I say grief has a healing and transformative power in our lives. That is why I'm here every week, to demystify grief, to bring it out of the shadows into our lives, bring it out of the shadows and right into the middle of our lives. We're addressing the elephant in the room, because grief is one of life's biggest teachers. See it that way, as one of life's biggest teachers. So with that, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm feeling before we move into our topic of the unique grief of losing a sibling, maybe we'll take a short break and we'll come back and we'll talk about the unique grief of losing a sibling. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Oh, I see that we have a comment in the comment box, and inviting everyone to make this show yours. Drop a comment, leave a question. And I hope you have a beverage or something that you are sipping on so that you can just immerse yourself into the program. And I see that we had a comment from Alexandra Musser. And she says, wonderful. And Alexandra is a beautiful soul, a beautiful spirit who I've had the opportunity of meeting in person, even though she's in another part. She's in the U.S. and I'm here in down here in Mexico. So, and I was just asking Alexandra if she had lost a sibling. So we're going to move into our theme today of sibling loss. And that is truly a unique loss. Most of us, I'm sure, we've all been socialized to believe that our parents will die first, that they will leave first. And yes, that's a given, you know, older aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpa. Yes, we know that we will outlive them. But what about our siblings? Is there a thought to when you lose a sibling, or even if a sibling is going to die? I don't think that was ever a conversation that my sisters and brothers that we had together. Excuse me. Clara Ortega was talking about sibling loss, and she says, to the outside world, we all grow old, but not to our brothers and sisters. We know each other as we always were, which is such a truth. We're not aging with our brothers and sisters. We are just as we always have been. We know each other's hearts. We share private family jokes. We remember family feuds and secrets and family gifts and joys. We live outside of that time. We live outside the touch of time. That is what's so special about brother and sister relationships. I'll keep it in the I. I am the second oldest of a family of 5 children. I have an older sister, Linda, and then I have 2 brothers that are younger than I, and a younger sister who's the baby of the bunch. And my 2 brothers and I, we were what did people call Irish triplets? My mom had 3 babies in 2 years. Can you imagine 3 in 2 years? I just can't wrap my mind around that. So I had always grown up. I mean, my life was always my brothers and sisters. I just never imagined them not being there. Never. And suddenly in 2020, and this was I lost my baby brother Melvin in 2020 on Valentine's Day, 2020 Valentine's Day, February 14th. And his death was anticipated. He had a short bout with pancreatic cancer. And if you know anything about pancreatic cancer, it is really, truly a painful and very, very devastating cancer. And then my sister Linda, my oldest sister Linda, just died suddenly on December 17th of 2020, suddenly. And I still, even now, can't believe she's gone. And for some reason, in both those deaths, with Melvin and Linda, Melvin's death was anticipatory grief. It's, if you want to talk about different types of grief. When someone is ill with cancer and you know they're dying, it's termed anticipatory grief. And for me, the plus of that was getting to be with him during those. It went, as I said, really fast, like over a 5-month period. And I got to be with him from the time I remember sitting at the bedside holding his hand, from the time he got his diagnosis, holding his hand at that time, until he took his last breath. I was with him. And there was just something about that whole period, though it was very, very painful, excruciatingly painful. But there was nothing more satisfying to my soul to know that I had been with him. I'll just say from the start to finish. And just honored to have had that. And I'm going to take a moment to just raise the candle to honor his life. Charlie Melvin speaks, to honor his life. And so with that, that's been 5 years. And just a couple nights ago, I found a Mother's Day card that he had given me. And I love the expression that there will come a time that you will remember your loved one with more love than pain. And I can say that when I read that card, that was the first time I had not cried with reading a card or seeing his picture. Finally, just feeling more love and just honored and just being tickled by the card that he had given me. And one thing that my brother said when I was at his bedside, when he received his diagnosis, and of course, just devastated to know that, wow, I'm going to die. And he just said to me, he said, Bonnie, when I'm gone, just remember the good times and think of me with a smile. And the other night, that's what I could do. I could think of him with a smile. And I've had other visitations from him, but that'll be another show. We'll have some folks on that talk about some of the visitations that they've received from their loved ones that have transitioned. So that was the loss of one sibling, of my brother Melvin. And I'll move on to my Linda, the loss of my sister Linda. Oh, I said sister, but my sister, but same reference with love, and that was Linda. But Linda, I was living in Ireland, and it was during the pandemic. She did not die from COVID. She just had she had a heart attack and died instantly. And that sudden deaths are very difficult to navigate, very difficult to move through. It's been 5 years, and I still cannot believe she's gone. Like I said, I may talk about death every week. I may coach people through their grief. I may give classes on grief. I may do workshops, retreats on grief. But as I said, I don't get a pass. I get to navigate it with everyone else. And with my sister, I just still can't believe she's gone. I feel like I really haven't grieved for her the way I feel that, oh, my spirit and soul needs it. And this is what is so, I think this is what makes sibling loss such a uniqueness, is because we were sisters. We grew up together. We fought together. Oh my gosh, sometimes I would say, I just have to divorce her. She's just too toxic for me. I can't talk to her from day to day. And then we would have such lovely, wonderful sister times, traveling together, giggling together, getting into mischief together, then being really angry with each other, like, don't talk to me. I don't even want to hear from you. And so that's what makes it sibling, the sibling loss, because we did grow up together, we, enemies together, teammates together, competitors. Oh, what about sibling rivalry? Trying to get the parents' attention for us. So we've had all kinds of ambivalences with our siblings, and it's really a complex relationship. So when they die, that can just throw you into all types of turmoil. As I said, with my brother Malvin, it was totally different. Just loving him and feeling so honored to have had him as a brother and to still have him. And as the reading I said from Mark Matusik, it's the illusion of separateness. And I am still navigating my sister's loss, Linda. And I'm starting to feel now, I just said to myself the other day, I just can't, it doesn't feel like she's gone. I can't believe she's gone. Just not being able to really feel into that sense of grief and completion. So I said, I'm just going to start talking to her just like she's here. And so many clients that I've had, so many people that I've talked with and coached say the same thing. They'll say the same, oh, I still talk to my husband just like he's in the other room. I still talk to my mom like she's here. I still ask questions of my sister. So I said, maybe that's what I'll try for a while. See how that resonates within me. There is, there is only the illusion of separateness. But I think we all have to navigate grief in our own ways. And I'm just sharing my story to say this is how I, Bonnie Gonzalez, have been able to navigate the grief of two siblings within a 7-month period, just back to back, it feels like. To know that each person grieves in a different and unique way. And there is no right and there is no wrong. Your grief is your grief. Honor it. And if you're not grieving, if you're not in grief and you know someone, maybe you're watching the show, maybe you want some tips and some insights as to how to support someone that you know that's in grief. And I say, please, everybody, let's drop that expression. Aren't you over it yet? Let's just move that to getting through a bout of bad gas or something. Aren't you over that yet? Let's leave it for that. Or, or walking on a rocky path. Aren't you over that rocky path yet? But let's not connect that expression to grief. If you're with someone if you're comforting a griever, leave open-ended statements, such as, that you can say to them, whatever it is they're expressing, maybe you could just say, I hear you. I hear you, and I'm here for you. Or if they say another, if other things come up, you can always say, yes, I understand how you feel that way. But allow them to really speak. People that are grieving need to empty. They need to empty of the emotions that are there, the thoughts. Just allow them to empty. Be a good listener. Never underestimate. So many people say, oh, but I don't know what to say. I want to say something to make them feel better. You're not going to be able to say anything that's going to make them feel better. You know what's going to make them feel better is your loving presence. That's what will make them feel better. It's not the words that you say. It is how you show up for them. That's what allows them to feel better. And another loving statement that I know we've all made and said to people that are in grief or have had a loss. I'm here for you. Call me if you need me. Call me if you need me. I'm here. I'll come over and do whatever you need to have done. Well, I'm here to tell you, they're not going to call you. They're just not. They're just not in that place or able to. We live in a society, standalone spirit, that kind of thing. They're not going to call you. So what's better, I feel, to say is, I am here for you. I will be checking in on you. I'll check in on you on Friday to see how you're doing and to see if you need anything. I'll check in on you next week. Set a timer. We've all got our smartphones, and put it on your calendar and have a timer, a reminder. Hey, today is the day you're going to call Susie to see how Susie's moving through grief. Yeah, you promised Dave that you would check in on him in a little bit of time. So do those kinds of things. That is the best way to support someone that is in grief. Like I said, if you're not in grief, I'm so happy that you're not navigating that right now. But if you know someone that is, be there for them. Be there for them. I love what Maya Angelou says, that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And to allow someone to feel heard and cared about is what they will remember. So I just wanted to add that in there. And I'm gonna hold the candle up for my sister Linda. Linda Lee Speaks, who is my older sister, who showed me the way through life in so many ways and continues to show me the way through life. Yes, I just had one thought about my sister Linda's death. I just felt abandoned. I felt abandoned. My baby brother had died. My mother and father are gone now. My big sister, I just felt abandoned. So be with what you feel. That's all I'm asking, to be with what you feel, and no judgment. Absolutely no judgment. Just love yourself through it. Love yourself through it. I do want to talk about this. If two things, if hearing this and talking about your sibling's death is bringing up some anxiety for you around your own death or fear or whatever comes up, not judging it, whatever comes up, I invite each one of you, I just invite each one of you to attend something called Death Cafe. So you can just look it up. It's deathcafe.com. And what Death Cafe is, it is just a place to go and talk about death. And not anybody's death in particular, but just what you think about death, what you feel about death. Have you been able to talk about death? I told you that someone told me that grief is the number one thing not talked about in our society. And here we're talking about it. But death is the number two thing. The second thing that we don't talk about is death. So check out Death Cafe, www.deathcafe.com. Find a meeting that's near you. I'm telling you, it will be life-changing. I love their tagline. Their tagline is, talking about death won't kill you. So thank you, Joe. So I wanted to talk about another sibling loss that can be very, very, very difficult. And that is if you are a twin that has another layer of true devastation. And you may need to seek professional counseling around the death of a twin. Twins are awfully, twins have come into life together, and their identity is really tied up with their sibling, with their twin. My ex-husband transitioned about 7 years ago, and he was a twin. And I remember talking to his sister and how she just could not believe that that her twin brother was gone. And she had to fly a distance to be with him. And she was so devastated that he didn't wait for her to come before he transitioned. So that's what I mean about that identity of being a twin, and just seeking some experience from an experienced grief counselor if you're struggling. And there's also a beautiful website for you twins out there, and it's the death of a twin sibling, and it's www.twinlesstwins.org. So it's www.twinlesstwins.org. So their tagline is healing by helping. They say we focus on healing and sharing our twinship with the belief that once a twin, always a twin. Hope can be renewed for the future. So I'll read it again. Their tagline is healing by helping. And we focus on healing and sharing our twinship with the belief that once a twin, always a twin. Hope can be renewed for the future. So my heart goes out. My heart really goes out to people that are twins and lose a sibling. That can be just really, really devastating. I had asked Alexandra in the comment box if she had lost a sibling, but have not heard back from her just yet. So with that said, talking about how that can be really and an intensely painful loss of losing a twin. I mean, a twin, and also losing a sibling. And so what we can do, focusing on some things that we can do when we're grieving a loss of a sibling. Always journaling what you're feeling is always a help. Doing something that your twin would have enjoyed doing. I'm stuck on twins. Doing something, yes, your twin would enjoy doing, but also your sibling. Like, for instance, my sister Linda had been, she was really very ill and had been in a convalescent home or skilled nursing facility for a long time. And she loved her life had been reduced to food. And so remember once my sister and I couldn't believe that what my sister wanted to eat was one of those frozen like burritos, like from 7-Eleven. They have 7-Elevens in the US. But anyway, it's a frozen burrito, and you would take it home and put it in the microwave. And we were like, oh my gosh, who in the heck could eat that? So I said the next time I'm in the US, I'm going to go to 7-Eleven and buy one of those burritos and try to eat it and have a good laugh with my sister Linda. But do something that your sibling maybe would have enjoyed. Or you can also make a donation or contribution to your sibling's favorite charity. You could do that. Or you and your family, maybe you could plant a tree together in the yard that, like for my brother Melvin, this would be Melvin's tree. Or the name that of your sibling, name that tree after them. Do something. And I always say this, if when their anniversary, their death anniversary date comes, please have a plan. Have a plan of how you will move through that day. Having a plan helps you not get caught off guard by your grief. As I said, grief is unpredictable and uncontrollable. But if you can have a plan, that lessens the impact and makes it not so debilitating on that day. So be prepared, have a plan. If you're having a family gathering, you can have a place for them, a place set for them. Always having a picture. If you have an altar, I know lots of people have ancestor altars or just have altars in general for their spiritual practices that keeps them connected. So make an altar. Put a picture of them on that altar. You can have a touchstone for your sibling. If it's a button from their shirt or something that they loved, a crystal maybe that they liked. Or maybe some medal that they had won or some certificate, something small that you can place on the altar, or even something you could carry in a pocket if you need to. Something of theirs, a piece of jewelry that you can carry. But just letting them know that they will always be remembered. And I also ask that when you're telling your stories or talking about your brother or sister, use their names. Just like, as I said, my brother Melvin died on Valentine's Day. My sister Linda died a few days before Christmas. Using their names to keep their memories alive. And yes, talk to them if you want. Talk to them. Knowing that there really is, they may not be in this physical body, but they are still with us. I do believe that. Though we may not be able to see them, they are there with us, just waiting to hear what it is. That what conversation you want to have with them, that's what they're waiting for. So knowing that they are gone but not forgotten. And the beautiful thing about love is that love never stops growing. Our love for our siblings never stops growing. And if you were maybe not on good terms with your sibling when they transitioned, that's okay. Maybe write them a letter, letting them know what you feel in your heart. And then taking that letter one step further, write the letter, rest. And then what I want you to do is pick up a pen, fresh piece of paper, and write a letter from your sibling back to you in a response to the letter that you've written. Imagine them answering your letter. Do it. I guarantee you will be surprised as to what comes through. And what comes through could be very healing and be the exact words that you needed to hear. So don't knock it until you tried it. So try it and let me know. Especially, as I said, if you were one of those people that when your sibling died, you weren't on good terms with. And there's lots of people that can leave our lives and we weren't on good terms with. And if there's somebody else that you're thinking about that this has happened with, go ahead and write them a letter as well. Try it with them. So let's just take a deep breath. That's a lot that I've shared with you in a very short period of time. There's an expression, filling the room with words. So I have filled the airways, this square, with a lot of words, but know that words have energy, words have power. So just breathing those words in, just breathing all that has come forth. Breathing that in for now. I do a little shoulder shake. And I'd like to get ready to close. But in closing, I want to leave you with a little chat about carrying your sibling with you. And I have this deck. It's called the Grief Deck. Joe, if you could show the Grief Deck. And this Grief Deck is by Adrian Jinke and the Artists Literacies Institute. And they put together a collection of cards. It was a collaborative effort with lots of artists. And Adrian Jinke is a death doula. And this project was with other artists at the Literacies Institute. Sorry about that. Got a little tongue-tied. And so this card that I'm going to read from, Joe, if you put up the next picture, it says, carry them with you. This is one of the cards. Carry them with you. And the instruction from this artist is Izzy Johnson, prompt and artwork by Izzy Johnson. And Izzy says, carry them with you. Find or create a likeness of your lost loved one. It could be a photograph, a small sculpture, an object that belonged to the person or something else. Choose something that represents them at their best, the way you want to remember them. Place the image or objects close to you, perhaps by your bed or at your kitchen table, someplace you will be able to see it every day. If you imagine an object is small enough, it can also be portable. If you're able to leave your house, you can carry it with you. Take your loved one on walks out into nature or to a place of significance. Hold the image or object close to you, ideally in your hand or pocket. Feel their love, draw upon their strength, and remember that their presence, while no longer physical, will always be with you. Thank you. Yeah, she's just advocating for us to do that same thing that I talked about, making a touchstone. So she's calling it carry them with you. And you can do that. And it doesn't have to be just for siblings. This could be for anyone that you've lost. But today's talk and program has been about that sibling loss. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I just invite you to be very, very gentle with yourself, kind to yourself, and loving to yourself. And when this show finishes, I want you to go to a mirror and I want you to look yourself in the eye. Look yourself in the eye with love and kindness and say, what do I need today? What do I need right now? Whatever comes up, honor it. Know that you're worthy of having that desire met. So until next time, I just say, honor yourself and honor that grief. Tend to the grief of losing your sibling. So it's me, Bonnie Gonzalez, leaving you. As I said, I am a grief coach as well and available for you. So with that, just be kind and gentle to self. Namaste.